We recently faced Bar from 1543 in our Elite Wars, and we actually beat them. In this video, we're going to talk about how we actually did it.
Sheer dumb luck.
So this team from Bar is extremely strong. You know, they're in 1543, we're in 1745. So as you would expect, they have a few 40s, but the same number as we have. But where they get us is they have a lot of players between 34 and 39, a ton. And that is, you know, where they're going to really be able to push us in the long run. In the beginning, we make our push and we get all the way down to their castle. Again, not even counting our team, our speed group that goes along the bottom or the top, you know, depending on what we do that day, sometimes in the middle, just all over the place. But you know, not including them who are just going to keep hitting over and over and over just to distract and throw things off. And that works here in the very beginning. And you'll see that here. And they do sneak someone through. Right there. And we're having to react to that. So they're doing a little bit, you know, the same thing that we're doing. You know, our normal plan. So we do take over there close to their castle, and we just continuously hit them over and over, you know, while we can. Again, this group is really strong. We took care of their guy who was hitting us close to our main, and so we recovered pretty well in the beginning. But again, they are really strong, so they're able to hit us at our weak points. So we're just kind of hitting them at close to their base and holding them there. And this goes on for a little bit. And I've sped this up, even though it looks really slow, it is sped up. But it gets really interesting towards the end here, as they eventually start pushing us. And you can see them going along the top. You know, they're poking holes in our defenses here. And we're having to react. And we normally don't have to react too much. We usually like to force the enemy to react to us. But, you know, strong enemies will play strong, and it's not going to be easy. So we're having to just react a lot here. We do get there is on these replays of Elite Wars, you do get this where a castle looks like it's still in battle. Their main castle is not in battle until our group hits now. And then they were smart and they were able to hit us, our group, and kill 4 or 5 of the players that would have made it to their base. And we're not going to be able to beat them on their base here. So that battle's over. And you see them coming out. Even though you see that animation of it still going, it's not. And so now we're regrouping and sending out our main again. Kind of recovering here. And they're bringing a lot more out now. And so now, by losing close to their base and having to recover, it gives them more time to react. And you know, we keep hitting their main and try to throw them off a little bit and make them send troops back and all of that. And again, that's our kind of normal way of playing that we have, at least in the past. That's not always going to be the way that we play. We like to switch it up too. But you know, we're able to push them enough that they're having to back off a little bit and regroup. And so you can see that they still had some castles pretty close to our base, and they actually went back to their base to cover that a little bit as Smoke and others continued to pound their base. And the reason that we like to do that is because so many people bring alts to the battle. And you know, if we can knock down the front line of those alts, we eventually can push through. You know, while people are having to switch over and reheal their farms and stuff, and we're able to get them then. But we do, I think, a pretty good job in the beginning. Although probably a better strategy would be not to push so far, not to overextend ourselves too much when we don't have enough on in the beginning. You definitely, I mean, other than the smoke strategy, I think is absolutely spot on. Just keep the enemy distracted, keep them having to go back to the main castle to react, keep them, on the defensive while you group. And here you can see we have 30 something in our main castle there. And they're just going around trying to find ways through, which is smart. And so they do a lot of this. And that's actually really good strategy against us. So if you just sit in your base and wait for the attack to come to you, and then you don't have enough active players to keep pushing out, then you're going to be constantly on the defensive, and eventually your front line of all of those castles that are not really active players are going to be broken down enough that the enemy's going to be able to get through. I understand why people do that, because you definitely want to protect your base at the beginning. A lot of times you have people join the battle late too. But we're just kind of sitting and waiting, and they're starting to now make an actual push towards the middle. And they're bringing a lot of troops, and their overall tier is a lot higher than ours. And so that battle, all right, let's see how that goes. Ideally, we would have had someone hit them a few seconds ago on the castle that they're coming from the 18, I think. And then that would have slowed this down. But they were able to actually beat our overall main, which then puts a ton of pressure on us. Because now they have a lot of castles coming at us, and we're having to re-heal. And people are going to run out of heals eventually. They're going to run out of gems, and then they're just going to have to bring their not so good tier troops. And that's going to make it pretty bad. And eventually, I run into that. I run out of gems, I run out of heals, and all I'm doing is blocking. And so you'll see that in a little bit. I think we get through this one. Yeah, we get through this. And we're able to beat them back. And basically what we're doing here is just blocking. And we're able to beat them eventually. Now probably here, the smart thing to do would be to get everybody on that castle and then go out at the same time and not trickle in. But in the end, it didn't really matter, because on 10 they all backed out and they're regrouping. So what we're doing here is we're grouping up on 10 for a push down towards their main castle again. But you'll see they have, their middle is really, really strong. Now we're going to break them up a little bit here, which helps. But their middle is so strong. And they're able to kind of catch up. Even though we tried to trap them back and throw off their march so they're not all together, they're able to catch up, speed back in with the rest of the group. You see them there all speeding in. We slipped a little bit through, and we're hitting their main castle, but we don't have enough firepower right now. So now they won that on 10, and now they're headed to 2, and it's smart for them to go quickly and not let us regroup. And so they're, by the time our guys re-heal and then fill in the army and then head out and get there, they're already almost there. And so we're trickling in. They're coming in pretty solid together. And this is a very, very tough battle. And eventually Numbers and Tears always going to win, and they win that, and they start hitting our main base. So at this point, people are thinking it's done. We're done. There's no way we're going to recover from this. They've got us all the way in the back. But we win on our base, and then what we do is we just start blocking. So we might not win that battle on 1, on 2, but we will just keep sending. Just don't let them get to our main castle. Just keep them off the main castle. And as long as they're just going to 2, they can sneak a few people through, but they're not going to win because we've got enough on that castle to keep them back. But what we want to do is just keep them in battle on 2 as long as we possibly can. They lose on our castle. We're keeping them busy on 2. So that's the whole goal. And that's what I'm doing at this point. I'm sending out full marches and just trying to keep them busy, trying to keep them from pushing ahead. And now Smoke and ETM are going along the bottom because now they have all of their strongest players on 2. And so now we're able to push down along the bottom. So you'll see Smoke and ETM now, they're pushing along the bottom. No one's in their way. The bar players, their best players, their strongest players, their active players are all in that battle on 2. And so we're able to slip through our strongest players and hit their main castle. And now their main castle is in trouble. It's in serious, serious trouble. And they're not going to be able to recover from that. And we're going to win only because they're stuck on that battle on 2. We should not have won that battle. They should have won it. But anyway, I'm happy. And with that, take care.